I also want us to look at River State, because it is our state. Whether you are doing business or whatever it is our state, and we need to look at it from that angle as well. And I want us to also look at the politics that is playing out in River State, and we'll talk about all of that in detail. And there's no better person to have the conversation with than the governorship candidate of the APC here in River State during the 2023 election. I'm talking about Tonye Cole. Good afternoon to you.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? How are you doing yourself?
The morning after, the 2 days after, so my head is clearer now.
Let's start from there. Let's start from what your take is about the judgment, because I've not seen the what do you call it now, the printout of the judgment, but from what we've heard, the reports we've seen, and from a statement you also made to the press, it had to do with something about your party withdrawing from the case. Can you expatiate on that? Can you give us more details, what transpired in court and what your reaction is?
Well, so we're still waiting, like you, we're still waiting to get the formal printouts of the judgment. But I was in court when the judgment was being read. I think my first emotional reaction was one of being incredulous. Just that kind of shock that what's going on? Where are they coming from with this? I just did not believe that it was possible that the judgment would be anchored on that reason, because there's been Supreme Court. Before we continued in that case, one of the things that we did was to look at all the prior judgments that had been issued in this manner, to know that your right cannot be impinged upon by a party's decision, because we know that parties can be bought over, people can remove you can go into all sorts of things that will affect an individual, and so it was incredulous. I think that was my first reaction.
Okay, so now let me draw your attention, or let me take your attention to a section of the Electoral Act that talks about the people who can what's the word now, petition the tribunal court as to not being okay with INEC's declaration, and one of them is the political party. The other is the candidate who contested in the election. So, do you think the court, the tribunal, did not do a good job as per that section of the Constitution?
I think that's why I said I used the word ridiculous, because believe me, I simply was. On the one hand, almost amused, but I just not believing that this was the basis, the pure anchor with which to derive the judgment was that was to use this very confusing statement that the party that sponsored me had pulled out, and just like you said, the Electoral Act in itself had envisaged this kind of
argument.
Big barrel.
Yeah.
Yes, and decided that each person, the party can go, the candidate can go, and one is not tied to the other. But it's this is, I guess, this is just the it's what you find with some of the disappointments that we get, that the ordinary citizen today is a bit confused about the role of the judiciary, but it's where we are.
Okay. Now let's move a little bit forward now. I do remember watching on YouTube a video clip that was, I think, immediately after the tribunal gave its judgment, and it had to do with the former governor of River State, and he did say something about you being disobedient. Now, in as much as I would not use, I'm going somewhere with this, in as much as I do not want banding of words here, I want to ask, can you tell us, was there any kind of gentleman's agreement, as we know is done in politics, where people shake hands and say, you know what, okay, let's leave this one for now. Let's leave this other one for this person. because you would agree, which of course we'll talk about, that the appointment of certain members of the opposition party in Rivers State has also caused a little bit of problem. So do you think there is a gentleman agreement, or were you met to agree on something and you disobeyed because you've been set to disobey the agreement?
Okay, so the short answer to that is no. There has been absolutely no discussion, no agreement, as far as I am concerned, with me or the party in any way regarding this case. It has always been said, and I think I've said it on several occasions online, that we've never had any discussion whatsoever. Not the president, not the chairman of my party at the national level, not the chairman of my party at the state level. At no point have we ever sat down to discuss withdrawing or continuing this case. I have essentially carried this case and the cost of this case on my own. So it's never been up for discussion. And I've always been upfront with this, that if there was such a discussion, the public and my people will be the first to know, because I am representing their mandates, the people who came out to vote. So I wouldn't sit down and make a deal that they would not know of. So no, that has not happened. On the flip side, what seems obvious is that the former governor had a deal, and that deal is playing out as we are seeing. The deal is playing out, the same being appointed as a minister, the deal is being played out in the different ways that we see. But I personally, my party, Rivers State APC, has not had any kind of conversation with anybody regarding my case or our cases. To pull out or to continue.
I'm still going to stay with this. APC pulled out, they withdrew. Was there any reason given for the withdrawal? Because in Rivers State, we speculated, the media, the people who would call into radio stations, there were the speculations that there is a divided house, and the APC at the national was not in sync with the APC in Rivers State, and it's now pretty obvious, even with the appointments, which yet again we'll get to. So was there any reason given, or I don't know, what do you think was the problem?
No. So first and foremost, there was no discussion, and this had nothing to do with a divided house with APC, because we said it over and over, regardless of how people want to make the news seem, Rivers APC got united after 2019. Now, the only division that everybody pointed to was Senator Magnus Abbey, who wanted to contest, and everybody was allowed to contest for the primaries. Now, once he determined that he wasn't going to win the primaries, he stepped out and went to form SDP, and that was okay. And once that happened, there was no division within Rivers State APC, and we were a united house, and we will keep saying this. There's no division within APC Rivers. Now, SDP, when they pulled out, they went to Magnus and his team pulled out, and they went to form SDP. A particular group that stayed behind have been working with EDP. They call themselves APC, but they have been working fully with PDP, and it's been clear they're still there. They're the ones who are supporting the governor. They're very pro-PDP. They have not made it hidden at all. They come out and they make announcements on PDP. So that's not an APC. Because APC is one. They can try to cloud this to say that they're divided, but no, because APC has stood as one. So no, that's not where it's coming from. It's a totally different thing happening.
Okay. All right. So you're saying the withdrawal was not as a result of division. So what politics? No, it wasn't. What politics then? Sorry? I'm asking what politics then was being played by the national, because apparently the president was in support of that withdrawal. And it brings us to the next point about the appointment done by the president. I remember some 2-3 weeks ago you visited the APC national chairman, and you talked about how people who have put in their time, invested their efforts into the party here in the state have not been carried along. What is your take about that politics where they withdrew, and how there seems from an outside perspective to be a divide between the national and the state?
Okay, so when you take a look both in hindsight and ongoing political dynamics that are playing, once you take a look at this, you're sure about certain things. And I think the first thing that began to play out in terms of the political dynamics was that the president, in wanting to make sure that he won Rivers State, went into an arrangement with Nyesom Wike on two grounds. The first aspect of it was to ensure that they prevent PDP from the G5 from sponsoring or going back to the PDP. So just stop Rivers money from going back to the PDP as against, so that they do not counter APC's possible win. Now, that's politics on that end. And believe me, I've said over and over again that I can understand that politics. That there's no game saying that if you can stop River State money from going to PDP, then you are going to come out at an advantage. So that's on the one hand. Now, the second has to do with us.
Sorry. The line is breaking. Can you repeat?
I'm sorry.
Okay, now I can hear you. Go ahead. Oh my goodness. All right. Are you still?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. What was the last thing we heard?
So you talked about the first one about Rivers money not going back to the PDP, the G5, and all of that. So you were going into the second one. Yeah.
Okay. So that's politics that anybody who is in politics would understand, and I don't think anybody can begrudge the politics being played at that level. But where there was an issue was that we said to them that look, APC has been APC has been pushing the agenda of winning Rivers State on APC for the last 9 years, since 2013. The Rivers State was at the forefront of winning APC and has been fighting this battle. And I said to them that you do not need an alliance to win a state.
All right. I would have to pause you now. I'm really sorry. We've got a 5 minutes commercial break. Once we come back, we'll continue the conversation. And I want you to start thinking, because I want to ask you a question that has been a part of what I call it rumors in Rivers State, that the APC Rivers did not campaign for the APC. That's
right.
When we'll come back, please just stay tuned.
That's fine.
When you're 9 Mobile, Nigeria Info.
All right, 24 minutes to the top of the hour. We're still talking Rivers State, the Rivers State Election Tribunal judgment and Rivers politics. And my guest today is the governorship candidate for the All Progressives Congress here in Rivers State. I'm talking about Tonye Patrick Cole. All right, thank you very much for staying tuned. Sorry it was a long break, but welcome back on the show.
Thank you.
All right. So I asked a question and I asked you to, think about the answer. So when we come back from the break, we would continue from where we left off. And the question was that there are allegations that Rivers APC did not support the presidential aspiration or the president aspiration during the elections. How true? How true is that? Can you let us in on that?
All right, so I'm not saying that that's completely false. I believe that was when it became time for lobbying for positions. This was what was used to justify what we're seeing today. We started campaigning in October, around September, October last year. We went everywhere, and everywhere we went, we campaigned for APC from top to bottom. The good thing is that all of these are physical evidence. It's not something that we were campaigning on podiums and we were speaking on behalf of the president, on behalf of the third candidate, on behalf of the Senate and all that. And we started doing this. APC was going grassroots, door to door. We were going door to door and telling people that they should vote for APC. It's very difficult for you to tell to vote for one party on the one side and another party on another side. Nearly impossible in Nigerian politics. So, absolutely false.
All right. Okay. So, talking about the appointments and how it has gone to people believed to be in the PDP, for instance, the minister of the FCT, the appointments into the NDDC. Yes, they're all Rivers people, and there is no faltering of the law. But from the political side, I do understand that there are grievances. What can you say to that? What is your take on that?
Okay, so I think there are two levels of grievances from our side. The first aspect of it has to do with once take out the president's prerogative to appoint anybody. So we have no problem whatsoever with him appointing Yeson Wike as the minister. That's his prerogative. And that was done again on the belief that there was a deal for him to do that. And so that's fine. Let's take that deal. We don't have a problem with. When we have the problem is that subsequent appointments have to be fair and fair. Again, it's the president's prerogative. Let me appoint people from Rivers State. There are two things here. The first aspect of it is that APC works just, let's assume PDP works. APC works for Rivers State as PDP did, and so they're more balanced. But more importantly is that all the appointments that have come from the PDP have taken something that we have always fought against in Rivers State. When you look at all the appointments that have come, 5 of them, 4 of those appointments are from 4 of those appointments are from one local government, Obiapo. 4. 1 is from Okokolo. Now that is not fair in any way, any standard. And it's exactly what we used to say about all the projects that were done in Rivers State, where you had of all the bridges that were built, most of them were built in Obiapo, 2 in Falga, and it does not. We cannot continue doing that, and that's where we are standing up against. I think that while the optics might look as if it's all Rivers people, what you are seeing again is a continuation of that same thing, whereby you see where it seems like there is just one local government in Rivers State, and that local government we need to begin to decentralize.
All right, now, you've said, and I'm using your words now, that the PDP in Rivers State worked for the presidency or the president. Let's assume. Okay. So let's assume then. Let's use assumption. Let's assume that the PDP worked for the president and the APC in Rivers State. Both of them worked for the president. Do you think you would agree if the president calls you and says, let's end this here, because I understand that you're going for appeal. You're going to appeal the tribunal judgment. Am I correct now?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So if that is the case, then would you agree if the president calls and says, okay, yes, we've heard what you're complaining about. You want everybody to be carried along in the party, but we want you, to let this one go. Let's have a gentleman agreement. We've agreed with the former governor that, this and this and this, the G5 would not vote for the PDP during the election. And we also may not be willing to fight for Rivers State. So that was the gentleman's agreement. Let's assume yet again. Would you listen to such a plea?
Okay, so this question has been asked severally, and I keep saying that nothing like that has been brought before me. It's almost impossible to answer that kind of hypothetical question. If the president calls me and says, Tim, my son, come, let's sit down and talk about Rivers State, then I will sit down and talk about Rivers State. What are the issues of Rivers State, and what are the issues that I am pursuing in the court? And we will talk about that. It has not happened. If the president says, drop your case, the next question will be, on what ground? If they say, drop your case and you, Tonye, will be made a minister, I'll tell him no. That's not what we're here for. There's an entire party in Rivers State that feels disenfranchised. They need to be made a part of the political equation. There are people in Rivers State that have nothing to do with political parties, but supported me by virtue of what I represented. And that will still be answered. And so if I am called and they say to me, let us discuss your case, then the question I will ask them is, in exchange for what? How do the people of Rivers State benefit from me dropping this case? How do those who have stood on APC's platform for the last 9 years, how do they benefit from dropping this case? That question has not been asked. I have not heard anything from them.
All right. Let's get to Rivers State. Let's leave politics now. I know you're still going to appeal, but looking at the state the way it is, where are the areas you think we can focus? You are a Rivers son, just like I am. As a matter of fact, we're Calabari sons, I should say. But what are some of the things that we can do to ensure that Rivers State blossoms up to its capacity and its abilities? What are some of the areas we need to focus on?
I'll first of all start by saying that Rivers State has an economy that should be competing with Lagos State.
Okay.
We already have the ports, we have infrastructure that should make this happen. But what we are lacking, first of all, is destination. We're not an economic destination. Instead of people coming into Rivers State, people are moving out. So one of the first things that we have to do is make people feel comfortable with the rule of law in Rivers, that you can come and put your money into Rivers State and your money will stay. Your money will do something for you. So that's one of the areas that we need to do. Rivers State is blessed with land. When it comes to agriculture, when it comes to farming, when it comes to all of those things, we can do that. But more importantly is what the young population of Rivers State do. There is no alternative for them. And so we have to address the youth unemployment in Rivers State and education at that level and give them an alternative. Thankfully, the alternative that is available to most of them today has to do with within the digital economy and what they can do with software, what they can do with the digital space. And the government can very easily provide for them in doing in this area, such that they're distracted from the areas of bunkering, kidnapping, all the things that we see as vices within Rivers State. We need to get away from that.
Talking about bunkering, Degema local government area and Abunima local government area have been local government areas where airstrikes have been very is it prominent? Is that the right word now? Prominent in the last few weeks. So what would you say about that yet again? How do we tackle the issue of bunkering, especially in our backyard?
Brother, it's terrible. This directly affects me because these are my kin, and directly affects me. And when you look at what is driving that aspect of it, you will see almost two things immediately. First, has to do with the way education has been bastardized in that area. It's so bad right now that you can hardly find anyone who is properly educated from the area in primary and secondary school. So you have that. Education is a problem. Then the second aspect is job prospects have disappeared completely. So you have poverty reaching touch. That the only employment that you have in the area is what you see. It's illegal bunkering and all of that. Now that has to stop. So what do we need to do? We have to start bringing hope back into that area by ensuring that we begin to educate our youth and we give them proper job opportunities. The kind of job opportunities that exist today are the job opportunities that can be created out of software, digital, and that's an education thing, but it's doable, and we have to focus on this and make sure that works.
Now, you are in the oil and gas sector, the energy sector, and we have seen a lot of companies divest, not just from the Niger Delta, but Nigeria entirely. What is your take on that? Because that looks like a serious economic situation, given oil, crude oil, that is our main revenue.
You know, a couple of years ago, I was at the World Economic Forum and I was put on the Council for the Future of Energy. And what we were tasked to do then was to see whether there was a future in oil. And this was going back about 15 years ago. And we determined that oil was going to decline. And people would pull out. Everything you see in Nigeria, it was determined well over 15 years ago that this was going to happen because they looked at the trajectory and they saw that it was going to go down. So Nigeria is a big fix. It's not just River State. Nigeria is a big fix when it comes to oil. It's going to decline. So what are you going to do? Two things that you can do. The first aspect of it is that you create an alternate economy. Very, very important. Alternate economy. The second aspect of it is that you must create an alternate way of earning foreign exchange. Now, there are two ways of doing that. The first aspect of it in the alternate economy that you create is a digital economy. You can sit down where you are and earn money in foreign exchange. The second way is the alternate fuels, which today we are blessed with mining. We have to clean up our mining area. Thankfully, you would not believe it. There is no state in Nigeria, none state in Nigeria that does not have a mineral resource worth exploiting. Not one. Every single state in Nigeria has one, including River State. And so we just have to tidy that and pivot away from oil and gas and begin to earn foreign exchange through the resources of other minerals.
Okay, I would have to pause you now so we can take 1, 2, 3 calls. Let's allow the listeners air their views on what you and I have talked about, if you don't mind. Yeah. So if you're listening, the number to call or numbers to call the studio with are 0817 923 0002 and 0817 923 0003. For WhatsApp, use the number 0809 0306 416. We are live on Facebook, Nigeria Info PH. We are live on YouTube as well, Nigeria Info PH, and we are active on X, Nigeria Info PH. So you can drop your messages on any of these platforms. But then, if you want to talk, ring the studio right now. Remember, there is a call screener. They'll take down your name, your contribution, a recap of what we've talked about. We've looked at the election tribunal judgment. We've looked at the politics in River State. Is it APC, PDP? You know, the politics therein. And we've now moved on to the development of River State. So what are your thoughts on all of these issues that we have touched? All right, let's start with Cookie from Mile 3. Cookie, welcome on the show. Cookie Gam, can you hear me?
Good evening.
Yeah, I greet you. Good afternoon to you.
My Excellency, good evening, sir.
Go ahead.
I want to ask now, as APC, some of us that formed APC in 2013, that was stoned at airport during I'm a Tinubu visit to River State. We are stoned. Today, when they say the people to APC again, what would they be? In 2013, we are there. Those are saying we are not the people for Tinubu. In 2030, where we are staying with this party, what is party now? Where we are staying. Thank you, Canada.
All right, thank you very much. I've got Muriel from Okrika. Muriel, greetings to you. Welcome on the show. What's on your mind, please?
Look, Canada, one thing I believe is that every river son and daughter has the right to freedom to do whatever they want.
Pause a little bit. Mr. Cole, you said you can't hear them.
No, I can't hear them at all.
Hello?
Okay, can you hear them now?
Can you hear them?
Sure.
All right, go ahead then.
Yeah, Kalada, thank you.
Yes,
Good evening. One thing I believe in is that every river son and daughter has the right and freedom to do whatever they want as long as it's legal. Now, if the APC gubernatorial candidate decides to press forward to go ahead with his court case, and he thinks that will give him closure at the end of the day when they finally get maybe to the Supreme Court, Kalada, I think it's within his right. Okay. Nobody should stop him. Maybe the political party should not stop him.
Okay.
Because monies have been spent, emotions have been put in. There are people that are supporting him. Even though whether he comes out victorious or not, but as long as it will give him closure, Kalada, I think he should go ahead. The party should not stop him.
All right,
but Kalada, you clearly say that the party has decided to opt out of this case. And he himself, who is not an independent candidate, is going forward. Is there clearly not a disagreement between these two? Now, Kalada, the second one is that we listen to radio. I particularly listen to radio every day. And I listened to the gubernatorial candidate when he goes on air. What he advocated for was vote for APC. All APC candidates in the state.
All right, Muriel, thank you.
I didn't say the presidency.
All right, thank you. I've got to go.
There were no signposts declaring Tinubu as their candidate. So did they print out signposts? I want to find that.
All right, Muriel, thank you. I've got to go. I've got Azunda from Ngoshimini. Azunda, welcome. Quickly, we don't have enough time.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, greetings. Welcome.
Yeah, my question to the Honorable is that he said that they don't have any problem with the APC at the national.
Mm.
And you are aware that they protested when the appointment was done.
Mm.
So how come the national did not listen to them and they listen to some other states that they marginalize?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Cole, do you want to try answering the last caller's question?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I never said that we don't have a problem with the national in ATC national. I said we're unhappy about the way the appointments have gone after the first ones to the minister. And that's why we were there. That's why we were willing to meet with the national chairman, and that's why he gave us audience so that he could hear our grievances and all of that. So yes, I'm happy about it. We're not hiding it. So I never said, no, it's all cozy. We're not happy about it. And we didn't hide it, and we went there. The national chairman gave his word that he was going to begin to act on it and felt that it's important that we as foundation members of APC cannot be marginalized. If other people are coming into APC, they must come on our own terms and conditions.
All right. That's the much that we can take, Mr. Tonye Cole. It's been a pleasure, chatting with you. I hope we can do this in the nearest future again.
Always a pleasure, and thanks when you're having fun. So thank you.
All right, then. Do have yourself a wonderful evening. I would have to go now. Thank you very much.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right, we will continue this, the open season, but I've got another commercial stop. Someone is saying, why am I greeting good afternoon when it's 10 minutes to 6? Because that is what it's called. Just like until it's 12, it's not afternoon. Until it's 6, I've been told it's not evening. Do stay tuned. I'll be right back.